A few days ago, 28-year-old Australian psychopath Brenton Tarrant streamed himself to Facebook, I believe, walking into a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand, shooting unarmed worshippers. I think he had accomplices who were doing the same thing in either one other mosque or several other mosques. I'm actually not sure of all of the details, but I do know the last time I checked, the death toll, the official death toll, was at 50. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about now is not how the media government establishment is using this incident to further deplatform, censor, vilify, isolate and attack basically anyone who is even remotely critical of state immigration policy throughout the West, any right-wing commentator on social media, because I don't need to explain that to you. You can see that happening before your eyes. It's quite obvious and quite clear. The reason I'm speaking to you now is to share with you a perspective that a surprising amount of people are overlooking and not taking into consideration. And that is that every group gains from oppression. Violent attacks against a specific group, religious or ideological, open and vicious, deliberate cruelty. The group only emboldens the belief of existing members in their own goodness, in their own correctness, in their own oppression. And it wins over new sympathizers as a result of that oppression. Right-wing or nationalistic politics and its pioneers and commentators have become so much more popular over the past few years, not because they have been amplified and legitimized by mainstream media as leftists claim. Actually, the opposite is the case. They've become so popular because they've been so oppressed. They've been vilified, slandered, the recipients of character assassination, socialist financial asphyxiation, legal attacks, all sorts of oppressive attacks against them. And this has caused people to sympathize with them, especially because a lot of right-wing commentators are quite polite, sensible and amicable, quite intellectual. And the people on the other side are subjective, emotional, aggressive. As a result, the right-wing as a group is gaining more sympathizers and growing. The left has actually built the right up. It's done most of the work for them, if you want to call them the right. I'm really not a big believer in right and left. I'm just using these terms because they mean something to you. Islam, specifically this mosque in Christchurch, despite losing 50 people, or whatever mosques were attacked, despite the grief of the individual family members, as a group, it will gain. Not only are Muslims further emboldened in their belief in Islam now, they will win over more sympathizers. The government is going to throw money at them. They are going to gain from this cowardly and vicious, cruel attack against them. Which is why you cannot resort to violence, and specifically not terrorism, obviously. It must be discouraged. I have to discourage it. And that's what I'm doing right now. This is a cultural war, an information war. It's a war of words and influence. Any sporadic and abrupt violence, the recipient of that violence, the recipient of cruelty, of oppression, is only going to use it to grow. It will use it to its advantage. Very important to understand. It's basically the principle of all war propaganda. As a conclusion, I will say that if you consider the most powerful religious ethnic group in the world right now, the most wealthy, it's no coincidence that these people have a monopoly on suffering, that they are the most oppressed group historically. Never mind whether the claims of their oppression are true or not, they have enough money and influence to make you believe that their claims are true, and that's all that matters for the time being. So oppression against a specific group only helps that group. Your cruelty, your inability to hold your composure, to stay in control of yourself, especially if you resort to violence, is only going to aid the enemy. Very important to understand. Thanks for watching.